For this week's vlog, I will be doing something a little different than the past weeks. I will tell you the story of how I almost died getting attacked by a shark. Today marks a 2-year anniversary of that day. It was fall break of 2014. I was 13 years old and my family and my friend's family decided to go to Australia for fall break. It was the morning of October 25th, 2014. Me and my friend's parents were on the beach and me and Sam wanted to take a kayak onto the ocean. We weren't old enough to go into the kayak, so they paired us with some lifeguard to go out with us. Kayaking out there was fine, but it was really hot out, so I wanted to take a dip in the ocean to cool off. We were about 100 yards offshore. I jumped over the kayak to get a dip in the ocean. It was pretty cold, it felt pretty good. My friend Sam and the kayak instructor stayed in the kayak. During the dip in the ocean, I went underwater and I felt a bump on my leg. When I resurfaced, I told my friend Sam and the instructor about the bump on my leg. The instructor told me it was nothing and to just keep swimming. The next thing I remembered was I just getting dragged under the water with a really sharp pain in my hip. As the shark dragged me underwater, I kicked it as hard as I could after it grabbed onto my hip. And that's the last thing I remembered. This is my friend Sam, who was in the kayak with me during the shark attack.
Alright, so when we were kayaking out, it was just like, everything was going fine. It was a perfect day. It was nice and sunny, blue skies. And Luke went in to take a dip in the ocean. And I remember he went down, like he went under the water. And like, he seemed fine. And then he went back up and he said that he felt like a bump on his leg. And so me and the worker that went out with us, he just said, "It's fine, swim on." The next thing I saw was just bright red water. The blood was everywhere. And I knew that I saw Luke flailing his arms under the water. He was punching the shark and eventually came off of him and he swam off. And when we finally got Luke out of the water and into the kayak, the instructor immediately took his shirt off and started wrapping Luke's leg in the t-shirt to keep the blood from coming out. And so I was just booking it back to shore. I was paddling as fast as I could, and the instructor was just like getting all emotional, and it was his first job ever. Once I could see the shore, I immediately started screaming for help so that when we got back to shore, there would be lifeguards and people on the beach that would be ready to help us. So once we got back to the beach, there were lifeguards. People were swarming towards us, and the lifeguards had gotten an ambulance, and the ambulance was already driving down to the beach. And when the ambulance got there, I could just see the terror on people's faces, and it was just a terrible sight to see. And once we got into the ambulance, they immediately got to Luke. They started helping him, and then when he got to the hospital, that's when things turned bad.
If it wasn't for your and my friend Sam's help, I don't think I would be here today. This was the guy who was our instructor on the kayak. It was his first job and he was only 18 years old.
It was my first job, just like Luke said. I was nervous. It was a beautiful day. I mean, I saw Luke and Sam run towards me. They asked me if I can go out with them because they weren't old enough. As soon as I looked over, I saw the water red. I panicked. I mean, I just felt so guilty because I told Luke to keep swimming, and I know that wasn't the right decision. It was my first day on the job. I can't believe, I mean, we were just doing so good. After he blacked out, I took my t-shirt off, I wrapped it around the wound. I mean, it was just so glory. Blood was spilling everywhere in the kayaks. My life too flashed before my eyes because I just can't believe this happened to me. The first day of my job, I just feel for Luke that moment. I mean, I was praying. I was literally praying to God that we'd be all okay. And
so when we got to the hospital, things turned really bad. You couldn't really tell how much blood he lost when he was in the water. When we got to the hospital, we learned that he lost 3 pints of blood. And there's only 10 pints in the human body. 3 pints was almost lethal. And so at that point, Luke was fearing for his life. When Luke went into surgery, The doctors knew that it was going to be pretty bad, but they didn't think it was going to be that bad. Luke was lucky to come out with his life because when he was in surgery, they found out that he was only a couple inches away from the shark taking his tooth into a major artery in his leg, and that could have made him lose even more blood.
3 hours and 11 minutes after surgery, we walked into his hospital room. We just didn't know what to expect.
So after surgery, Luke had to do a lot of physical therapy, a lot of just getting his leg a lot better because he couldn't even walk for at least 3 or 4 months, and the recovery took a total of 5 months.
5 months after the whole incident, I went over to visit Luke. I walked in his house and I saw him walking.
I want to show you guys my scar, but it runs up my hip onto my ass, and I don't want to get age restricted for my videos, so for that reason I will not share my scar. Thank you guys for watching. Hope I shared some information about my life. Tune in to Sunday's vlog.